Hi, guys. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. We have a very special guest, Mr. Sean Cronin. But before we enter Sean into this podcast, let's catch up with the guys. David, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It was a good weekend. It was my birthday on Wednesday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How old did you turn?
27.
Cool. How'd you celebrate?
I didn't have many plans that day. I went for a workout, so that was good at the gym since they reopened.
Big week.
Yeah, and then I just had a couple of drinks with some buddies, and that's about it.
Cool.
I
Awesome.
had to work the next day in the morning, so I couldn't go crazy.
Damn.
Oh, that must have been hard.
That's crazy. The timing of it.
Yeah.
That's all right. I celebrated my birthday in my house because I couldn't go outside. So
But I was at home not doing anything in the morning. I didn't do anything. I was just at home.
except seeing me. You remember that? You forget about that?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Anyway.
Can
You
you
guys
tell
see
us
my
what you
new
got him?
water bottle?
That's what you got him?
Yeah, I got him a water bottle.
It's fire. That's
Iron
awesome.
flask water bottle in the color green for Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's actually fucking hilarious. I didn't know that's why. Oh my god.
Oh, it's my favorite color.
Oh my god, that's so good.
My favorite color pre-Baby Yoda.
Shout out to Iron Flask.
Speaking of Baby Yoda, listen to what my brother got me. Hold on.
Go ahead. And David,
That's where I got him. They got the chair.
Yeah, you got him the chair pretty much. What is it? Oh, shoot. Baby Yoda.
Oh my god.
You guys listening should check out the YouTube just to see this Baby Yoda. That's actually very cute. Cute.
It's
It's one of my
funny.
favorite scenes from The Mandalorian.
Damn. Cool.
Anyway,
That's good.
Jacques, how you doing?
Good. Just NA hockey playoffs just raising my blood pressure through the freaking roof. So like it's not real life. As in like it's not like life ending, you know, there's obviously more serious things out there in life. But for
no
me
one cares about,
it's
no one
like,
cares about hockey, bro.
no one cares and it's just frustrating. And then my team's playing Philadelphia with Palmer's listening. Nothing
Oh,
against him obviously,
Flyers,
but
right?
I don't have much love for the Philadelphia teams. Sorry, Hartman, if you're listening. So there's a bit of beef there, but it's so good right now. The quality's so good. But besides that, I went back to the club on Wednesday as well. Bright early at like 6 a.m. I know we switch over on Tuesday and draw the club, and it's gonna be an adjustment. It's gonna be a change.
Why'd you go at 6? Did you have a client?
I had a client at 6 a.m. bright and early. Yeah,
Gross.
he was raring to go. So we're so that was right back in it. And the one thing I will say though, I think that even though I didn't miss waking up, I know we spoke about how some people were like, "I'm so pumped to be open." The one thing I will say is I wasn't like openly going to admit I miss getting up at 4:45 every morning. Like I don't miss that. But if it means I sleep better at night, which I've already slept better in that like 2 or 3 time window, it might help things resettle. But what about you, Angel? Have you been?
Everything's good. Can't complain. Had a good week. Yeah, and it's about to be Labor Day weekend, so hopefully
Crazy.
that goes great. Yeah, it's fast, but it's what it is. All right. With that said,
Yeah.
let us introduce that dude, Sean Cronin. Hey, Sean.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up, Sean?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, good. How are you?
Well, we're all doing great, man. I mean, well,
Yeah.
as good as it can be, I guess I should say.
Yeah,
As good as can be.
Right.
But it's been an eventful week thus far.
This particular week, and not just the whole, disastrous 6 months that we've just gone through.
I guess this week has been kind of like the summation of everything that's been going on. But yeah, this past couple of 6 months have been crazy.
Absolutely. Why this week? What's going on in the world?
No, just, everything's opening back up, and, the gym opening up in New York City. That was the biggest moving
You sound like a
factor.
person that leaves their house. Gotcha. Gotcha.
How have you been?
I've been doing well. Everyone's talking about 2020 being a tough year, but it's been an interesting year, but a good year so far.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
what's kind of like one of the things that you've one of the positives that you've had in 2020?
All right. Well, I gotta lead off with the marriage. So
Holy smoke!
Oh,
nice. Congrats, man.
Congratulations!
thank you,
Congrats.
thank you. Right, you got to say that one first, otherwise you get in
Yeah,
trouble.
you do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You got to show it to the camera. Just to
That's
Very
it, right? Everyone, this is
There you
grade
go.
A silicone right here. That's
There you
it. Oh yeah, no, my wife and I were supposed to get married in Croatia in May, and put the kibosh on that. Just did it at City Hall. We're just calling it a Corona elopement. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
congrats, man. It's big.
Congrats.
much appreciated, much appreciated. But aside from that, as you guys know, right, I just left Equinox and started my own company. So there's that.
Yeah, I
That's
saw
big.
that on Instagram, and I wanted to ask you a lot about it, but I figured it'd be best to just get you on the podcast, just first and foremost to catch up, because we haven't seen each other since I guess the TRX curriculum.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw you
yeah.
at Comic-Con.
Comic-Con. Yep. Aside from that.
So aside
That
from
and the
that,
curriculum. Yeah,
right?
but it's been a while.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about. So since we know you, or Jacques and I know you, David is introduced to you right here, right now.
Pleasure
But
to
tell
meet
us
you.
a little
Nice
bit
to meet you,
about.
buddy.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and how your background in fitness came to be.
All right. So I would say so when I was 12 years old, I was 200 pounds, right? Not as tall as I am now, right? And that's a heavy weight to be when you're, that young. So like growing up fairly heavy, graduated high school around like 220, and not like a sexy 220, like not a beefy one. And then like freshman year, I hit like 235. And then I figured out, pretty much what carbs were. And I was doing all the bro lifts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So dieted down, and between March and May, I dropped from 235 to 187. So like just under 50 pounds
Jesus
in a couple
Christ.
of months.
Wow.
So it was like, those old school, like microwavable bags of brown rice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So I would have that with like my George Foreman grilled chicken breast, like every day when I was 19. And that's just been evolving, definitely still. I got rid of the Foreman grill. You'll be happy to know it's been evolving, but I would say like figuring out that and seeing the results from that, and how that changes your whole kind of character, personality. You're going away to college at the same time, so you get to make new impressions on people, right? Be a new person and stuff. So physically looking like that, and then taking advantage of it, introducing yourself to a new audience and everything. I would say that's probably the genesis of it. And then I've heard other people describe it as ADD fitness, where it's like you're just bouncing around from discipline to discipline. It's like, all right, I'll try bodybuilding for a while. I'll do this like college bodybuilding show. And then after college, I got into endurance running and tried out vegetarianism for a while. And then after that, I got into like CrossFit and paleo, and I started doing that while I was living in South Korea. I was coaching CrossFit over there for a couple of years, dodging Korean immigration service because you're not allowed to do that as a foreigner.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah. You can get a special work visa to go there as a teacher, which I did. But like, yeah, I was living and working there illegally for like the last year.
Wow.
So
That's insane.
I mean, like, so when people talk about like immigration issues, I'm like, listen, I have a lot of sympathy as somebody who has done that
is
before.
Crazy.
Yeah, but then I bounced back to New York City in 2016 and started working at Equinox, right? Met you guys where I was up until the pandemic. And then when that happened, not to go into too much detail just about whatever issues we may have with the company or anything like that, like I really didn't see a lot of point in sticking around. So I decided to branch out, make my own thing. You can see the hat here. We have some branding going.
I love it.
Speakeasy
Oh.
Fitness.
Can we see that closer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's see it closer.
Let me lean in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. Think
That's
that.
pretty cool.
Nice.
So I figure with that, like, there's a prohibition on gyms right now, right? And if we go back to when prohibition was a thing, we had speakeasies in response.
I dig. Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's smart. Yeah.
That's
I
very
dig.
smart. I like it.
Oh yeah, but that's about the skinny. Huh? It's been the last decade and change.
Well, that seems like an eventful decade, to say the least.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, it's been busy.
So Speakeasy Fitness, when did that come into fruition? So when was the inception of it?
So, well, yeah, my resignation from Equinox was last week, so right then.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, not before that at all. No,
Yeah.
that would be. I'm sure
Gotcha.
we have non-competes and such, but
Yes.
no, it was all in response to the pandemic.
Gotcha. It's better to be on, like, once something like that happened, I think a lot of us kind of took a step back and just rethought what we were doing and tried to figure out a more sustainable approach, right? Because obviously this happening, you still have to have some sort of income, right? You still need to make a living. You still need to pay rent. You need to pay bills.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a kind of, for the listeners who are out there, hopefully we don't have a second wave and it's not as wild as the first wave was.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, this kind of like breath of fresh air almost gives us an opportunity to maybe do something that we might not have done otherwise, right? In order to continue to prosper and
Absolutely.
make a living.
Absolutely. It's so when where were you guys? What was your thing? What was going on during the Great Recession? Like 08, 09, right up until the recovery, maybe like 12 or 13. Were you guys in college? Like,
Yeah, I was in college
Yeah,
around that time. So
And I was about to as well, yeah.
So I was trying to figure out, like, it wasn't my first thing, the first thing that was on my mind. But, everybody was pushing, hey, go to college, you should continue, do what you got to do. And I was not really, it was like dragging my feet, so to speak, to go to school, because, like, not only was it I think that had a big impact, right? Because, like, I looked at everything and I said, I don't know what to do. So you're just going to have me go to college just to figure it out? Like, why am I spending money to try to figure it out? Maybe
Absolutely.
I should enter the workforce and just do that. But in the long term, it was definitely a good thing to do. But I went like a couple of different ways before I arrived at exercise science. But where were you in 2008?
So 2008, right? I was in college at the same time, and I only bring it up because I graduated 2010. And like when you graduate in the middle of a recession, a historic recession with an English degree, people aren't like throwing jobs at you, especially when it's from a state school in New York. So like bunch of odd jobs. Like I used to sell windows. I used to work for Greenpeace, right? I was like a door-to-door, like traveling salesman for windows and roofing. I used to put in attic insulation, like I worked at Whole Foods for a little bit.
Wow.
And then like, I had applied to grad school. I got waitlisted for the program, but didn't get in. So that's when I'm just like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to South Korea where they treat English majors right.
Yeah. Right. I was wondering how the South Korea tie-in came to be.
That's how, man. Economic refugee, right? I just got out of here, crossed the ocean, and over there, like in East Asia, they're willing to pay a premium, not quite as high as Saudi Arabia is for English teachers. But like, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I think you made the right move there.
Yeah, but the whole reason I bring up the recession is just like that totally reset things. That was, aside from 9/11, like probably the biggest shock of our lives up until COVID happened. And like from seeing everything there, I'm like, all right, for the next recession, the next catastrophe, I want to work as hard as I can now in the recovery and have like enough of a nest egg that I can make moves during the next collapse. And I didn't know it was going to happen like this, but that's kind of how it happened. So I was in a position, financially and with everything else, that I could make a move and start my own thing. I had enough capital to really invest in that. And yeah, so far so good coming out of it. We're only a couple of months into the operation now, but like everything's been going great.
Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm seeing a lot of people making similar moves in the fitness industry. So
absolutely,
I think we all kind of like say that we wish nothing but the best on your endeavor. But I wanted to kind of change gears to one of the points when we were doing our TRX curriculum. One of the most surprising things that I heard you say was speaking about the refrigerator that you have with the cow parts in it. So
Oh dear.
without giving too much away, can you describe your nutrition kind of like routine?
Totally.
And how it came to be and how you've maintained it during the lockdown.
Right. So, I mean, I'm going to answer the last one first. The lockdown has been the easiest thing in the world as far as nutrition, just because we have such a crazy stockpile. And I mean, like, I'm in control of everything. Mm-hmm. It's one thing when you're running around going back and forth to private appointments, back to Equinox, you grab a little protein bar here, maybe some Chipotle there. Mm-hmm. But if you're trapped indoors, you're responsible for all your meals, right? So it's all on you. So that's been fairly easy to maintain. But as far as the nutrition angle of it, if we go bring it back to like the Foreman grill days when I would go to Costco and buy like a 20-pound bag of chicken breast frozen and then have like a huge bag of vegetables next to that and just eat that, right, to stay on like the lean out diet. You experiment with things. I took a nutrition class in college. Coming out of that, I was dating this girl who was a vegetarian at the time. And you've seen this in documentaries and all over the internet and, you know, from speakers everywhere. Vegetarianism, veganism is the healthiest thing you can do. You're going to live the longest, right? It's going to make rainbows shoot out of your fingertips. It's all the things you want, none of the things you don't. Mm-hmm. But I tried that while I was doing my endurance running phase, and like my body just fell apart. Like I was getting hangovers that would last me 4 or 5 days. Like my head would be hurting all the time whenever I would eat. I would have low energy. I'd be cold all the time, like no libido at all. So that inspired me to start doing some actual research on the topic. So around like 2013, I got really into the paleo scene and started getting into like ketogenic and like bulletproof fasting and like butter coffee and, you know, really thinking about the farming aspect of it too. Like, where is this food coming from? Right? Because it really all comes back to the soil, right? Is the soil healthy enough? Like, is the animal healthy enough when you're eating it? And this is right around the time Food Inc. came out, et cetera. So you're getting an idea of everything that's happening there with the factory feeding lots for the cattle. Yeah. So I started buying grass-fed beef from Whole Foods, getting into that. And then when I was in a financial position where I could lay out like $3,000, I started to go out and buy cows whole from local farms. So you go up to the farm, you place the order, they take it to the butcher, you show up, and then you pick up 400 pounds of like vacuum sealed, prepackaged, grass-fed, local organic beef. So in terms of like keeping a relationship with the farm, keeping a relationship with your environment, supporting like local economies, and I'm a huge believer in like decentralization broadly, but having a decentralized food system. I think it's kind of wild the way we ship in food from California. Or, I mean, even South America, especially like when it comes to the term banana republics, you know, that's where it comes from.
It's crazy.
So, exactly. And I mean, our history doing that is a whole nother issue, but, but I want to try and have as much of a relationship with my food as possible. And the reason I gravitate toward beef, let's say, rather than like chicken or something like that, is there's this whole idea of like within ethics, it's called the least harm principle. And if you do want to eat meat, if you do want to, you know, take the life of animals, like if I take one life, if you believe that all lives are the same, right? The life of a chicken is equal to the life of a cow. Then if you take one life with a cow, you'll be able to eat for a year off of one life, right? Whereas chickens, I can go through one a day, easy. So cheaper, better for the environment, right? All you need to do is have the freezer and you're good to go.
What size freezer are we talking there?
It's a chest freezer. So this model only fits a half cow in it, which is just the bane of my existence. So I have to give away the other half. But
I see.
That is also an additional service for clients. So when I go to the farm, I take orders from everybody, and I'm like, all right, would you like a quarter cow?
That makes a lot of sense, because then you can add that to, like, you're gonna get the whole cow either way, right?
Pretty much. Right.
And do you have like a favorite, like, do you have like a farm that you go to?
Absolutely. Lowland Farms.
Lowland, and where's that at?
It's in the Hudson Valley.
Okay, so that's pretty close.
Absolutely. Right. There are all these places right around here. First farm I went to was called Moon Dancing Farm, and that was closer to like Western Pennsylvania, up by like Binghamton, New York. not all the time farmers are going to be super great with sales and stuff like that. They don't deal with people as much as they do with animals. But the people at Lowland have been really, really good.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful area. So renting a car and driving down there, it's nice to just hang out there for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I can, especially now, we could all kind of like just use a break.
Absolutely.
And maybe just like take a peek at what it's like to live life a little bit more rural.
Mm-hmm. And we're not allowed to leave the state without quarantining, right? So all this stuff is at your fingertips just in New York State.
True that. True that. But cool. Thank you for kind of laying that out for us. I've been curious ever since I first heard the story. And I like how casually you kind of like dropped it. Yeah, I think
dropped it in there like as if it was quite common. It was very surprising to me too, but
right.
Yes.
You just moved
but
straight
the teacher,
from that
if you remember, Dominic from PN, he was like, "Oh yeah, I do that too." Word, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Did he really?
Yeah,
he did. He did.
Wow, I don't remember that.
No,
the guy who
absolutely.
expected us to just like not take a break and just go through, right?
No. It was a good class. We just thought in different wavelengths. I was just trying to figure out, all right, I have the palm full of protein and then the thumb full of fats. And Sean was just like, yeah, so, I don't go grocery shopping that often because I get the cows from the farm and I have like a freezer and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I get it. And I was like, what? Wait, let's go back.
Not common in Manhattan apartments, to say the least.
Oh my God, your neighbors must have been scared shitless when they first saw that.
I mean, that's the great thing about bringing it in the boxes, right? Although I'll tell you what, when we got the freezer, that's why I love my wife. My wife is hardcore. She's from Russia. As soon as we brought the freezer in, she like looks at the freezer, looks at me, and she's like, yeah, you'd fit.
Wow.
I was going to make a Jeffrey Dahmer joke, but then I figured that you just kind of like filled it in right there. So
Absolutely. So we got options.
You got space for that. I want to, I kind of want to dig a little deeper with what would you say your ethos within the health and wellness industry is? I know you've spoken a little bit about like your, like views and thoughts on like being a bit more friendly to the environment, nutrition, but what would you say your ethos in general with the health and wellness industry is?
So with the health and wellness industry, it's interesting when you're talking about like the industry at large or kind of what, I see my place as, because I have issues with the industry at large. No one's like, oh yeah, personal trainers are the best, all of them, right? It's we
get such a bad
industry.
rap, most of us, right? Like,
and it's deserved though.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody with a weekend course or anything like that can roll in. I mean, you guys have seen just the churn rate at Equinox. What, 80% of people quit in the first 6 months?
Yep.
How many of them are under 25 with no experience?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you take the average personal trainer, we're not a great bunch.
Sure.
Right? It's a fair criticism. So I also think because we have a bad rap as personal trainers, there's a temptation in the industry to become very self-serious. Right? And I've heard this from educators at Equinox before. They say things to the effect of like, listen, obviously we're not in this for the money. We could be doing something else and making a whole lot more. And I was always like, could we? Could we? Like, most of us did not choose between investment banker and personal training, right? Most of us didn't choose between, rocket scientist and personal trainer, right? We're not the brightest bunch, right? It draws a certain type. Mm-hmm. So there's this tendency in the industry to become overly serious about yourself to make up for that, I feel.
I can see that. I can completely agree with you.
Right. So that's what I would say my bigger criticism of the industry broadly is, that it takes itself a little too seriously because it's insecure. What I feel like my position in it when I'm dealing with clients, right, getting to know them, it's about, and it's going to sound rote, but it's about finding what their relationship with the world kind of is and what it can be. Because like the whole idea in kind of like philosophy is not how should one live, it's like how might one live.
Right.
And I forget what the exact number is, but I think the average rate or the average age of death for a man in the United States is something like 79, 76.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't believe in an afterlife. So if that's the case, we only get to exist for 75 years or 79 years or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we spend that time in the best way? How can we optimize it? And best is going to mean different things to different people. And that's one of the things I talk with my clients about. So I have one client who's like a gourmand, who's really into fancy food and eating, you know, the richest French meals and all these things. And that's part of his identity, and he really enjoys it and it's part of his life. Now, I can't tell him that if he eats nothing but, you know, beef and chicken and bison and salad, that he is going to be living a better life. That'll be a better use of his 75 years. You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of a value judgment. Mm-hmm. But what I do encourage people to do is give it a shot. Because in the time that we have 75 years, you know, we can live a lot of different lives. You know, you move someplace, you get a different career, you have different friends, marriages, family, etc. Like, you can try different things and see what works for you. And, you know, nothing works for everyone and nothing works forever. But I feel like the problem a lot of people have is either not being aware of the terms the world sets, because we don't set the terms, right? We just live in the world.
Yeah.
We just navigate it. So how many times have you been talking with a client about nutrition and you're like, listen, you can only have 1,800 calories a day if you want to lean out, right? And, you know, a third of those have to be from protein, or half of those have to be from protein.
Right.
And they're like, well, that's not realistic for my lifestyle. Or, you know, well, like, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, I'm sorry that I'm the one who told you how the body works. But
yeah, I'm not the one who makes the rules of science, like physics, you know, like.
Exactly. Right. I have tons of issues with Isaac Newton, but first and foremost, right, is his law of thermodynamics, right? So, like, people don't know that. It's not taught, and that's for reasons, but the USDA only recommends 50 grams of protein to an individual, right, in a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Now, that's a recipe for obesity. It just is, right? If I want to stay at a certain weight, I can't eat over 2,000 calories. Right? I'm around 1,800, and half of those are from protein if I'm trying to stay lean. If I want to be a little bit heavier, I have some more, you know, leeway, but it depends on where you want to sit and where you are in your life. But those are the terms, and it doesn't matter if you believe in it or you accept it or not. It just is the way that things are. Or when you tell people that you need to do this mobility exercise, right? Otherwise, you're going to continue to have back pain. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's like, well,
keep your back pain.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And a lot of these people, like, this is bullshit. I want a refund on life. I didn't sign up for this. And, like, That's the thing. None of us did. I don't know when you guys decided to be born, but, like, it happened to me by accident.
So
you know? So, like, we're looking around and, like, all of us are here on accident. And we're trying to figure this out as best we can in the short time that we have. If we got to live to 500, you know, I'm sure we'd all be experts in our last century of life. But we're only here for a little while. It's hard for everybody. And, like, we don't know the rules. We didn't sign up for this. So that's kind of my deal with people. I'm like, all right, welcome to the world. Here are the things. You have to stay on the right side when you drive, right? And then, you know, carbs do this to your body. Alcohol does this to your body, so on and so forth. So I feel like in my best life, if I'm doing my job to the level that I want to do my job, am an operator's manual for the body.
That's good. I like that. I think you touched on some great points as well, where you mentioned the USDA like suggested certain grams of protein on a daily intake. I think it's really important you say that as well, because, like, I'm sure we've all had these conversations about clients where they ask or throw suggestions on what a daily intake of, like, whatever macronutrients they're talking about, or all of them collectively. But it's so hard. The conversations I constantly have as well is just if you had, let's say, like 2 43-year-old females that probably had, even if they did have the same genetics, they're not going to, like, if they're both 150 pounds, 150 pounds are going to look so different on both of them, right?
Absolutely.
Just because, like, so many variables are taken to, like, even if you have the same parents, you haven't inherited the exact same DNA, exact same genetics from your folks, right? Might be more from your grandpa, whatever it is. So, like, when someone says, you know, like, oh, well, so-and-so says I should read this. And I think based on what you're saying as well, like, well, I haven't told you, it's not that I've made this answer up. I'm just telling you how science works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing as well is it's incredibly, I think we learned this as well. At least I got this breakthrough at TRX curriculum was there's only sometimes, not saying you give up, but sometimes you can provide all the information to your clients. You can give them everything. But if they're not wanting to meet you halfway, like you said, your client, like he loves eating food, like there's only so, like he's from what we saw, it sounds like he's pretty much said to you, like, I'm going to be eating this stuff the rest of my life, like whether or not like you put me on a plan, right? That's probably what it sounds like, right? To an extent. And like you said, it's credit to the fact that like, if he's eating that on a daily basis or whatever, however the frequency is, that's him living his best life. And just because the average says you can live to 75 doesn't mean you want to live to 75 either, right? Like you might rather live 40, 50 years and enjoy it as opposed to living to 75 and counting calories every day. Like it's all relevant to what you would rather, enjoy in terms of your life. So I'm really glad you brought that up. So I think that's quite important when we always get that question from clients, right? Better say?
Absolutely. No, like we don't know their context.
Right.
And I love that you brought up that you have different DNA with everybody. And like, so my general feeling is, I'm not a big proponent of free will, which is weird, but like it gets a little convoluted, but I feel like you have your DNA, right? And that dictates the physical structure of your brain, as well as everything else. So let's just take that as a starting point, that all of our brains are shaped differently and they're set up to do different things. We're going to have different genes that make us more or less likely to do different things. In that same way, right, in the matrix, we have like, that's the length of the square, right, or the rectangle. And then like the height of the square or the rectangle is going to be like your experiences, So if I like look at you guys here and if I had your DNA and then was brought up the way that you were brought up, I would just be you, right? There's a lot of like navel gazing, I think, and with personal trainers, it's like, if I was in your body, I would do it better.
Yeah,
like if I was you, then I would keep this diet up, right? Or I would, fix all the things that I can see from the outside that's wrong with you. But I believe that people are acting rationally, right? And they're affected by different experiences and different influences. And we are one of those influences, right? When someone signs up with you and they start training with you, we're now like the voice in the head, whether they're seeing you once a week or 3 times a week or something. And it may take them 5 years for the thing to sink in, but you're constantly putting this meme, this idea out there that this is possible. They're seeing you kind of live it. And that's one of the things that I like the most about having started up my own company, my own business, is that I can exemplify the lifestyle to a larger degree, because like now when I see clients, I see them in my home. Like the whole idea with the Speakeasy is that I built a gym over the pandemic. I don't want to bury the lead, but
wow, hence the Speakeasy.
So my wife and I, we moved from our 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, and we took the giant bedroom, like the master one, and then we built that out, got the same 2x2 square black tiles, squat rack, dumbbells, assault bike, rowing machine, etc. And now I have this entire gym built out in my home, right? I got the locker room set up in here too, right? Separate bathroom, like just for clients when they come over. Full towel service, everything's disinfected, right? Full like ventilation setup, child locks are off the windows. And when I have them come in, they can see like, oh yeah, this is like, he doesn't have booze around, right? Like he doesn't have this around. Like they see that I don't have chairs in my apartment. There's not a single chair. Like,
what are you saying right now then?
No, he's standing.
I'm not sitting on anything. This is my standing
I
desk.
saw it. I was like, this man.
Oh
yeah. 45 minutes to an hour.
So
I thought he was sitting on a chair.
No,
if I pull out the microphone here and check it out.
First of all, that mic is legit.
Thank you. But you can see this is right here, the whole living room setup. So it has the one table here. It's like the Korean style dining table. And then we have some of those tatami mats to sit on around it. So I'm either sitting on the floor, there's no chairs in the place, right? There's no TV on the wall. We use a projector if we want to do anything, but that's a barrier to entry, right? It only works at night because it's too bright in here for us to do during the day.
That's so smart. Wow.
So now I can't watch TV. Now I can't sit on the couch, right? This is all built into the lifestyle.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's impressive though, man.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Swinging for the fences. Swinging for the fences out here.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was stupid enough to be impressed by the refrigerator.
Listen, I'm glad. That's the hook. That's what got me on here, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That was your in.
So. That's true.
I did want to. It's going to tie into it's first of all, it's so awesome, and it's actually really refreshing to see you being able to do it, because in my building there have been a lot of people leaving their units, and we've seen a couple of 2 bedrooms, and the first thing I thought to myself was like, I can make this room into a gym.
Exactly.
That's the first thing. So I'm sure we'll off air or other time get to dig into more questions about that as well. But that's awesome, because that is just it's just fascinating and super refreshing to see you being able to do it as well. When I've had the thoughts of whether I can, and it ties me into what I want to ask you next. Like, how I know you have the facility now, but I'm assuming that took time to build up and set up. Like, how have you adapted to training virtually?
So virtually, essentially, I just got a ring light. Right? Okay. So I got one of those ring lights with the tripod, and now I set that up in my gym, and then I'll take people through whatever it is. I mean, if you're creative, then you're able to work with whatever the people are able to work with, right? If we just have body weight today, I can give you a good workout just using body weight. Do you have enough of an exercise library in your head? Are you able to plan that out for each person? Luckily, I'm not doing a ton of virtual training, and the stuff that I am doing, people have enough equipment that it isn't a huge issue, like gymnastics rings in most cases, right? Some barbells in another case. But yeah, the majority of my people have been in person. And even before I had the facility, since March, I've just been going, literally since March, I've been going out to one of the fields out here in downtown, and I have a wagon meant for lumberjacks that weighs that can hold 1,200 pounds worth of stuff. I walk out there with a sled, 2 45-pound plates, a 25-pound plate, 5 kettlebells, 4 dumbbells, battle ropes, medicine ball. I have a fully mobile gym.
I'm gonna need a bigger wagon.
Across across the sides, I have banners set up on the wagon that say, you could be social fitnessing, with the website on the back. So I've been able to. This
guy's ahead of the game.
How far away is the field? How far are you lugging that thing?
It's at the end of the block. It's amazing.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Guy is crushing it.
My commute is incredible. It's unbeatable.
Damn.
I do have to use the service elevator to get out of here because my wagon doesn't fit in the regular elevator, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So you got to work out yourself, just going over there.
So the wagon weighs in around 400 pounds, and I do have to drag that thing literally uphill because I have to take the service elevator to the basement and then drag it up to the first floor, up the ramp.
Yeah.
So you're I'm breaking a sweat before we make it out there.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to give away your exact location, but are you on the Lower East or Lower West Side?
Or West Side. Yeah.
Okay. So because I know on the Lower East Side there's so many parks, and the West Side is a little more limited, but that's amazing. You got a new stalker, bro. There you go. I'm just you're crushing. I'm not trying to pump your tires here, but you're crushing in so many elements. And now I've seen Angel obviously bring the cart, and I'm like, oh, should I do it? And Angel brings I don't know how many kettlebells we have to bring to town,
3 or 4 or something like that.
But then you had a second cart, and he had a whole setup, and then you're talking about how you have. Did you say you have plates in the cart?
Damn right. What else are we gonna put on the sled?
That's amazing. I kind of half expected you about to say the barbell as well. I was like, this guy.
No, the barbell. I have brought the bamboo barbell outside.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of the bamboo bar. I have brought that outside, but it's a little too long for the cart, so it's not. It's a little bit tough. We save that for the inside. That's your incentive to come inside. We can use the bar.
You can't give them everything outside, man. You gotta
But with the setup inside, with everything you got going on inside, it's almost like you only want to go outside just for the accessory stuff or the things that are fun now because it's hot, it's warm outside, just refreshing.
And it's advertising.
Oh yeah, that's
right?
true.
You
When
got
I'm
it on the
cloistered
wagon
out
as well,
here-
you said?
That's right. That's right.
That's
So
so
it's I
fucking
went to
smart.
Vistaprint, right? They make great
Yeah,
stuff and
they
it's
make
really good
everything.
Yeah, I
shipping.
know it's a print.
And I got the banners. Like I had a big 4-foot by 4-foot banner that I would hang from the chain link fence in the park, and that would just be like, you could be social fitnessing, right? Strength, mobility,
Oh my
like
God, this
downtown
guy.
NYC's like finest outdoor gym or something like that.
Good for
Fully
you.
mobile outdoor gym, and
Wow.
like with the website and the intake form and everything on there. So it's been great. It's been working out really well so far.
Wait, time out. I want to take a step back. I know I'm interrupting Jacques.
No,
I know he's
go
got some
ahead.
other questions. Do you eat or intake MCT oil or something? You're operating at a different frequency than most people. So
Yeah, you're way ahead of the curve on so many platforms.
is it CBD?
I appreciate that. So CBD, no. I do go by the next episode, though I do try and smoke weed every day. But no, the MCT oil. I used to play with that, right?
Uh-huh.
When I was doing the bulletproof coffees,
Yep.
the 1,000 calorie butter coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, I've just gotten away from that, and I'd say on most days, the majority of my calories comes from beef fat.
Okay. Got you. All right. I was trying to see if there was some sort of high performance, high living,
It's called nihilism. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, you're not wrong.
Right.
Oh.
Wow.
Once you accept that nothing makes sense and nothing matters, you can do anything. You're good to go.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is the only shot you have, right? In theory. So why not go hard?
Exactly. Right. And so during the recession and everything, when I started coaching in South Korea, I gave up my job as a teacher there to do that full time. And I went from making, 35 grand a year, which when I was 24 was, it was good enough. I was able to do all the things I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
But when I started coaching, they paid me $2,000 a month cash to live in South Korea. And that's all I lived on. So I went from, 25 grand a year living in a foreign country, and I made a decision a while ago. It's like, listen, I'll kill myself to not die. I'll kill myself working to not die poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like poverty sucks. And if I've got to
Yeah.
work 7 days a week for 3 months, I got to work 7 days a week for 3 months.
Yep.
Right. To try and get enough of a foothold to not have to go back to it. Because that was another thing that I realized coming into the workforce in the Great Recession. Like we came from a 1-parent household, right? Dad's a cop, right? Mom didn't work. So we had a foothold in the middle class, but it's so tenuous. You can fall out of it at any time.
Yeah.
In this country, there's no floor. There's nothing that's going to save you, So that's kind of the decision I made a while ago. It's I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. And hopefully I'll be able to ride the wave of the next recession and come out of it in a better spot.
Wow.
Good for you.
That's cool,
Yeah.
man. I mean,
That's
now,
phenomenal.
I mean, now, talking to you, and thanks for being on the podcast today. And it's a pleasure to meet you. But
Pleasure to meet you too. And it's my distinct pleasure to be here.
what would you say to somebody that's, right now struggling? I mean, you just went completely from, working at a company to going, on your own, basically.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody that wants to do that, what are some tips you may have for them?
So somebody who depends on where they are, right? Are they in the company, right? Are they trying to get in the company? Are they trying to, I would say my biggest kind of realization is the separations of different kinds of realities. And I'm going to circle back on this, I promise. But we have 3 kinds of reality, essentially. We have physical reality, there's a mountain right there. It doesn't matter how much you argue, but there's a mountain right there. And then we have things that are social reality. And the best example of this is the government, right? It's the laws. And these are all fictions, but they're fictions that unite us. There are no such things as borders between New York and New Jersey. That's not a physical barrier, right? That's a social barrier. We agree on that as a social reality. And it's real because we all agree it's real, right? And then there's virtual reality, but there's that. And what I would say to whoever it is at any point in their career is people are the point. it's the relationships that matter, right? We are social animals, and like, unless you are doing something like you're coding, or you don't need to meet anybody else and your work just stands on itself, like, you need to be able to develop certain relationships. And when you can kind of, I would say, switch gears to looking around and seeing, like, if we are all here by accident, right? And like, life is hard for all of us, you know? Like, it's not, nobody has an easy time all the time. We have different ways of coping and dealing with it, but everyone has a point where their life is hard. Like, if you can increase the happiness, the satisfaction of other people through there, like, not only are you making their time here better, but you're making, like, your, brief time existing better as well. And I think regardless of what you choose to do, whether it's to try and go into a company or to strike out on your own, if you have strong enough relationships that you're constantly trying to maintain, and in our case, it's especially the point, right? Because it's all clients. Like, whatever your relationship is with your gym, like, they don't care about you. They only care about you to the point where that you are able to bring in revenue for them, right? But you have a deeper, different kind of relationship with your clients directly. So if you are trying to keep your relationships around you strong, and you're trying to lift other people up, I think regardless of your position, that is going to help you out.
Nice.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Trying to, going into the fitness aspect of what I wanted to ask you.
Oh yeah, isn't this podcast about working out? Come on,
No,
we
listen,
can talk about
listen.
bench pressing, bro.
Oh,
No,
the three realities. That was
no, I got some curls to do later. But the thing is, like, in terms of modifying, I mean, we spoke about virtual training, and it's great that you have the facility that you're able to have people in, and because I personally think the physical aspect of the client being there with you creates a lot more trust between the two people. But would you say that you've maybe modified your training modality to sort of fit into, like, lack of equipment, lack of barbells, Olympic platforms, bumpers, all that stuff? What would you say you've changed your training modality, or is it about the same, or has it been an issue? Maybe not.
So with the virtual clients, right, that's definitely its own can of worms, right? And I can say, like no one becomes a personal trainer to sit at a computer all day, so there's that aspect of it. So I do try and resist that as much as I can, but I am happy to get in the work however I can. I'd say that there's a little bit of a lag time, right, in conversations. They can't be as fluid as they are. You're not picking up on all the body language cues and everything like that. So sometimes you're, one person is talking and then you talk over each other a little bit. I'd say that would be the hardest part with virtual training. Or virtual training also relies heavily on audio cues, right? When you're cueing your clients to do something, or your athletes, you have your tactile cues, and now that's totally out. You have your visual cues, and you can do that if you have enough space on your end, right? Regardless of whatever they had. But if I'm set up here at my, standing desk, like, I can't demonstrate a ton. I'm just going to have to be able to explain it in a way that makes sense to them, and then specifically them. So I think the communication aspect of it is really important when it comes to that. As for the actual programming, like, people have such different needs that it's hard to say with one person or another. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of my guys that I've been training virtually, like, he went out and he got gymnastics rings and a barbell, and he, like, set up in a barn. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. We have all the things. Don't need anything else. But as far as, like, training modalities in general, I can definitely talk about that a little, just because you guys saw me when I was in the sling.
Yep.
Right?
Actually, I think I have, like, a video when we were doing
yes,
Michelle Dalcourt's class.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So I was in the sling after my shoulder surgery, and before that, like, I was going fairly hard. Like, I used to compete in CrossFit, right? I wanted to compete in weightlifting. I had good enough numbers that I could qualify for the American Open for USA weightlifting. And then that happened. So it's like, what do you do after that? And I can say that for me, and like I used to train, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, every day, like no ifs, ands, or buts. And when I reached like my max, like as good as I was going to get essentially without seeing the right kind of pharmacist, I saw that like on my best day, I have a good chance of walking into the mall and being the strongest guy there. Right? But that's where it ends. I can't compete regionally. I was not a D1 athlete, right? These people are playing with a different set of cards than I am. Like, so my max is never going to be that impressive as an athlete. So what are we doing? If I get to live another 45 to 60 years or something like that, do I want to jeopardize my joints and my health, right? And try and go hard and chase the dragon right now? Or like, do we readjust? And I'm 32 now. So like, the wheels are starting to fall off the wagon a little bit. And I'm trying to make that as much of a priority as possible. And that's definitely carried over when it comes to my clients, right? Because sometimes you'll see guys in their 40s or 50s and like, I want to get jacked. And you're like, you can't reach overhead. You don't have enough mobility to do this thing. Like, we got other stuff that we need to do at first.
Shrugs it is.
Seriously, right? So I feel like my training has become a lot more holistic in that regard, that I am trying to take care of people for their lives and not for just our life in the gym.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that's one of the things that I think differentiates between one trainer to another. There are the trainers that are just like, well, do this, do that, and I'll see you next week.
Right.
You have the other ones that are more of like, well, this is why we're doing this. I'm doing this because I want you to do this next week. I want you to do this a month from now. And, I don't want you to get hurt, and also you want to educate your clients. At least something I always tell my clients, especially in the assessment, it's like, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm not going to be holding your hand forever. I'm going to need you to know how to do these things. Right. And, I bring up education because you said earlier about us being here, or certain trainers being here to try to educate their clients and to tell them what the science says and tell them, what things are. Whether or not they do it, that's their choice. But we're here to tell you this. How do you, what do you use to sort of differentiate or weed out the bullshit that you have everywhere that sort of misleads certain clients or certain people that are trying to better themselves in the gym so that they could follow what you're saying, right, whereas follow what someone else is saying?
Right. So the game changer's dilemma, right? The game changer's paradox.
Yep.
So, everyone sees this movie, right? And like, oh, well, I just
I've
need to
heard
be...
so much shit, dude. It's, I've heard so much of it before we shut down. It's like, I don't want to get in on that because the biggest thing, especially with a lot of people, is that they just, I forgot who said when we had our old coworker, Antoine, he was like, listen, people research what they want and what they already know or what they think they know already. Mm-hmm. They don't want to research or look up things that are going to contradict what they already believe.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. Right.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that?
So it needs to work for them, right? Whatever it is. And I think experience is a great teacher. So if I have somebody who's gung-ho about a certain thing, it's like, listen, I really want to try going keto. I really want to try intermittent fasting. I really want to try being vegan. I'm like, all right, cool. Right?
Do it, right? Yeah.
Now, the vegan one, where I can talk about that with Game Changers, I've had a lot of clients who saw the movie and come up to me and it's like, all right, I think this is it. I think if I go, this plant-based route, I'm going to do it. I'm going to hit my fitness goals and stuff. And let's just say it's weight loss here. So I asked them, I'm like, all right, I want you to think about your diet. Think about everything you ate yesterday, the day before, so on and so forth. Do you think that meat was the thing that's holding you back? Mm-hmm. Right? Look around in the diet. I'm like, you think that meat is the thing that's keeping you from reaching your goals? There's nothing to do with the scotch, nothing to do with that. You feel like it's just that turkey burger you had. Yeah. So I'll try and paint it like that. But if someone's gung-ho about it, I'm more than happy to let experience be the teacher on it. And either way, you're coming out looking better, right? Feeling better. If it works for them, that's awesome. You look like a genius, right? If it doesn't work for them, you can be like, okay, now that we've disabused you of this idea, let's try this instead. And it's always a constant battle because I would say the biggest difference between the younger coaches and the older coaches, and I can speak for myself, definitely, it's been a huge difference with me. When I first started coaching and training, I thought that it was just about knowing the things, right? Like 5x5 makes you strong, right? 4x12 makes you jacked. Sprints are this, LSD is that. You know, you want to have 8 calories per pound if you want to lose weight, 10 if you want to maintain, 12 to 14 if you want to gain. 1 pound of one for every pound you are, a gram of protein. These are just the rules, and you got to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. These are the 4 rules to success, and if you do them, you will be in better shape, right? As long as you're working out around 6 hours a week. That's not controversial. That's not hard to explain to people. What's hard is to get people to do it, right? And that's where the coaching comes in. It's not about knowing the things. It's about being able to make them interesting and accessible enough to people that they actually want to do.
Yeah.
So like when something is not interesting, or I'm not able to make a change happen, it's never the client's fault, right? Like they are either not ready, willing, and able to do this, or I didn't make a good enough sell on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And just like when you have different cues where you say knees out to one person and that doesn't work, and then you say corkscrew your feet and for that same person, and that's the one that works. That's the one that resonates with them. Like you have somebody that you've been working with for years and years. You need to keep trying different things. You need to find a way to make what you're saying resonate. Like it's a failure of creativity and imagination. Like when you mentioned like about game changers being, you know, one thing, not to just pick on this one documentary, but over the pandemic, I tried my first YouTube video, and that's why I have this microphone and, you know, I'm all set up and fancy and everything. So I wanted to make my first YouTube video on that. And, you know, it took me like 50 hours to figure out, but by the end of it, I was like fairly happy with the product. And if that's the case, like, can you take the thing that you are pitching and put a spin on it to make it interesting, in the same way that that documentary was flashy and fancy, and it made vegetarianism and veganism, this thing that's been reviled in our culture for generations, it made it sexy and cool, right? This is what athletes do. It's super cool. Now, if you can use humor, right, use jokes, pop culture stuff, like, and try and make whatever it is you're trying to say resonate with people, like sooner or later, I think it's going to stick. You just need to be creative about how you get buy-in.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to a lot of people that are, you know, they just want the, you know, get rich quick schemes in terms of fitness. They just want to have, like, David, what's the supplement, you know, that I need to have to do this? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, and then you refer them to these websites and to these sources, and whether or not they read them, you know, that's their choice.
That's on them. Yeah. If you give them the tools, if you give them the sources, but even like when the conversations we've just had, like even when you tell them, even when you say, and well, we've all had that resistance of clients, right? I think the best thing to do is how can we help you get to where you want to be, right? So like we can always provide the information of like, science says that consuming this number of calories, or science says if you consume this, or like whatever path you're trying to explain to them that they can improve their overall performance or just lifestyle. There's always going to be, I think, again, for me, it was a TRX curriculum. As soon as like what my mentor told me, instead of telling the person what they need to do, having the client or person come up with what they think they could own, what they think they could change. And if you can have that, that's above everything else. Is just, again, it's not about taking any kind of accountability off us as coaches, but just that's what I've learned, is to kind of throw back on the client.
Absolutely.
Essentially, right? To see, again, like I think you said when you were 19, you were having like rice and chicken breast was like pretty much what worked for you, right? And that like might not necessarily work for everyone else, and that's okay. That's totally fine. And
my wife called me a robot the other day because I just eat the same thing every day, right?
But that works for you, right? That
exactly.
Works for you. Yeah.
No, so to take the thing that works for me and impose it on other people is just it's always a path to disaster.
But the other thing I will say as well is, and this can definitely attribute to like exactly what you're saying, your business, where like I like social fitnessing. In my head, I'm like, fuck, why did I think of that?
That's
It's
pretty
fucking
good.
awesome.
That wasn't
And then
only pretty good. That's awesome. Yeah, you're right.
That's really
Thank
fucking
you.
good. I'm like,
Great.
fuck, why did
and
I
that was,
think of
I
this?
freely admit that was still, I saw somebody hashtag that on Instagram and I'm like, well, I'm putting that on a sign. I'm sure
Taking
I'm sure
this.
I'm sure people in this neighborhood are not following the same exact Instagram accounts that I am. They're not gonna know. Right?
I send these guys some stuff and it's like a really good, it's like a move and I'm like stealing this. Like you'll see
Easy.
me. Yeah.
Easy.
I'm like using this. But I lost my train of thought. With like I was thinking about like nutrition. Yeah, about like what, for example, like what you eat. And the other thing I will say is when people say like, oh, because you're a health and wellness professional, it's easy for you, or that you just get it. It's like, no, I think everyone at some point has either learned their route and like known there is no blueprint to either be successful as a trainer, as a profession, or training themselves, right? Like you can, I think it's fair to say as well that when a client, let's say we've taken over a client, right, from another training before, right?
Mm.
It's fair to say a lot of trainers who have their style, have their mark, it's imposed, not imposed, but it's, you can see it definitely in a good way in the client's training history, right? So like, I know like David, for example, has a background in Olympic lifting, right? Whereas me and Angel are a little less familiar with that. So I could see more of his clients having that familiarity, right? So, or even, for example, if any clients had any shoulder issues, the fact that you came back from a shoulder surgery, you know full well what it's like to not feel your arm completely the right way, or like not be able to have any strength with it, right? So anyone that comes to the door to see you in rehab's like, you know it firsthand. So I don't even know the fuck I was going with this.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, man. Experience is the best teacher with that.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I'm sure all David's clients spot super low, right? If you're
yeah, they get their ass to grass.
Not all of them.
Yeah, he's always saying no rep, no rep, no rep.
Mhm.
Yeah, he is a philosopher, like no rep.
Listen,
Yeah,
that's when it comes down to, you know, what your own philosophy and training is. You know, I have a distinct thing of like, well, you know, I understand that I'm not going to impose Olympic lifting. Like, I'm not going to have you do a snatch when you're fucking 55 years old and you can't do. You really can't.
But
do
did you
anything.
used to when you were first starting? Because I definitely
No,
did.
I didn't. I mean, it's like because
I did some.
first of all, I
pretty bad
didn't
stuff.
know much. I didn't know anything, so I'm not gonna have somebody do something that I don't know about. You know, and I think, at least for me in my training style, it's very like, well, I personally think a 5x5 could be beneficial for anyone, at least to start.
Totally.
You know, to get the foundation going.
Mhm.
And also depending, I mean, it depends on the type of client you have. You know, you don't have no one. There are people that don't ever train people that are over 40. There are people that only train, you know, kids or like people in their 20s.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I would say that if you're quality though, right, sooner or later those clients will be over 40, and if you're quality, right, you're gonna be with them at that point.
Yeah,
sure.
continually to training them. Yeah,
they'll squat
Oh,
low
yeah.
and they won't be able to get back up. I'm like, oh, shit.
Exactly. This is exactly why we don't have chairs, right? Like we're
Yeah.
going
That's
down to the floor
impressive,
every
man.
time.
But that
There you
looked
go.
like great. I've seen you said there's no couch, but what was that in the background that looks like a couch? Because in my head, I just thought it was a couch.
It's a twin bed.
Oh no shit!
Yeah,
that's
so we have a twin
this
mattress.
Is the bedroom, right?
No. This is the living room, right? We have our regular, you know, queen size like adult bed in the other room, but over here we just have 6 cushions outside of our little table, right? And then those 6 like floor cushions that you'll sit on the floor with are right next to a twin bed. It's just a regular twin mattress with a denim cover over it.
Oh,
So if we wanted to sprawl out or something like that, you know, get some snuggles in when we watch Netflix, like we have that right over there.
That's
wow!
awesome. That's insane. And he's romantic. Ladies, he's taken.
Ladies, you guys missed out.
Respect the silicon. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Really quick, I wanted to like double back on like one or two things just because I found it really interesting. You said there were 3 realities: social, virtual, and what was the first one you said?
Oh, physical, right?
Physical. Okay.
Like there's a mountain right there. You know, you're not going to be able to get around it. You know, that's no matter how you argue with it, that is firmly rooted in our physical reality.
That's awesome. All right. Yeah. I mean, that we can go into a whole different podcast, a whole different discussion based off that.
Yeah,
I am so down for that.
One
But
of these days we should.
really recommend checking out the book *Sapiens*.
I was going to ask you about book recommendations actually too. So go ahead.
Awesome.
I read that a while back. I should reread it. I forgot the whole thing.
Well, that's his whole thing about fictions, right? Like, listen, you're never going to be able to get 50,000 chimps together without there being a problem.
Yep.
You know, but we can get 50,000 people together because we have this idea that the Pittsburgh Pirates are a thing.
Yeah.
He mentioned the whole currency thing and banks and things like that. I remember that part.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. Right. But because we have this fiction that there is a Pittsburgh Pirates, right, that unites people all around it. There's no physical pirate. That's not a part of physical reality. That's just a social reality we all agree on. Same thing with Equinox. Like there is no Equinox. It's just a brand. It's just a company's name. Like if everybody quit that was working there, like that company would still, quote, exist.
Yep.
Right. It just exists on paper. It's not a physical reality.
Yeah. The 3 book recommendations, Sapiens,
Okay.
and these are for like life or fitness, right?
Okay.
Because I follow your social media account, and those who don't, we'll plug that later. But there were a couple of audiobooks you were listening to, and I got on them, and some of them were just like very difficult for me to listen to. I think Hacking Darwin was one of them.
Okay.
And that might have been you, or
I don't think so. I haven't read that one.
Mitch, also from our TRX. He
Right,
also
right.
does some stuff like that. So Hacking Darwin was one thing that I saw. Maybe it wasn't you.
Mhm.
I also saw Bulletproof or Becoming Bulletproof.
Nope, also not me.
Damn, I
How dare
followed
you? How dare you? So you invite
Funny,
me
can
on
we just
here and you do
accuse
not
you
have a
here?
You
list
should
of
just
all of,
stop. You
how
should just
dare
stop
you?
here,
Me too.
You
No,
just
but
stop.
like, you follow social media accounts, and then you just like take this, take that, and I assume that I know who it's coming from, but I don't. But go
Yes,
ahead.
no.
3 book recommendations.
Oh man, you put me on the spot here, right? So I would say definitely Sapiens is a big one, right? Because it is, and it's by Harari. I think his name's Noah Yuval Harari, but I might be mixing that up.
No,
So
it is.
Sapiens, I'd say, is a big
Yuval
one.
Noah Harari.
Gotcha. All right. So I'd say that's a big one because that's an entire history of humanity, right? From like
It was a
soup to
great
nuts.
book.
It's
Yeah, a good
amazing,
book.
right? It goes over like our physical evolution, right? Our kind of evolution in a lot of different ways, right? Socially. If I had to give just 2 more, I would say Neil Stephenson has to be on the list. Have you guys ever read anything by Neil Stephenson?
I don't think so.
So Neil Stephenson, I first brought to my attention by Kelly Starrett. I heard him recommended in an interview, and he talked about this book called The Diamond Age. And The Diamond Age is as good of an intro in there as you're going to get to Neil Stephenson, but he, in that book in the 90s, predicts the iPad, essentially. And he also talks about like a future, he's a sci-fi writer, a future past countries, right? We've only had countries for about 400 years since the Treaty of Westphalia. So there's nothing to say that's going to last forever. So what comes after nations? And it plays a lot with that idea. Nanotech is involved. So I would recommend The Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson. And then this is a recent one. I wouldn't say it's like it's going to be on my Mount Rushmore of book recommendation. You know what? I am going to give you a Mount Rushmore. Fuck that. I'm going to give you a Mount Rushmore one.
Go for it. I'm down.
The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz.
Amazing book. I read
That is my favorite novel all
That was
time.
so good.
This dude, one of the chapters is Ghetto Nerd at the End of the World. Like, this guy has lines. He won the Pulitzer Prize for literary fiction in 2007 with this book. And he's speaking right up my alley, right? The narrator speaks to you in such a colloquial, familiar way. He talks about like being a weightlifter, right? Being a state school player at Rutgers, growing up there. It's a shifting narrative. It goes back to the Dominican Republic and like the 40s, 50s, like 80s, right? What it is to be diaspora and come to New Jersey, New York, around that area. And then like to be nerdy and bookish at that same time. So like the opening line to the book is a quote from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four. And it's of what import are brief, meaningless lives to Galactus? And he goes on and he talks about it in terms that comic fans and fantasy nerds are going to know about. I would say that is, I read that book once a year and have for the last like almost 15 years now. So
reading it brought me back to my neighborhood because a lot of the places that he mentioned are right around here.
Right? Like
cool,
Perth
yeah.
Amboy right around there.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's really good, bud. So that's a good one.
Oh yeah. So Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, right? Sapiens, Diamond Age.
Okay. Those all sound legit.
A book that, I mean, you mentioned Diamond Age. The book that I was reading, I haven't finished it yet. It's called 21 Questions for the 21st Century. I think that's also
that's amazing.
And he mentioned also the thing of, there's right now we're in the time where what's next? You know, before anything in the book, before he's like, you know, fascism, communism, liberalism, and then you get to the point where it's like, shit, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing next? Like, what comes next after the whole?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I mean, Neil Stephenson's answer to this, and this is in multiple books, it's a theme he keeps going back to. Snow Crash, which is I think from 91, it's the novel that started cyberpunk, essentially. That and in the Diamond Age, it's both after the dissolution of countries. And if that's the case, right, in one area he has guilds pop up, right? So people will go out and join different guilds. One of them is like the Victorians. They model themselves after Victorian England, and everyone follows the Common Economic Protocol, right? And if you're a member of the Common Economic Protocol, then that is the thing that governs your trade. And then like your affiliation with your guild is the thing that kind of governs everything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a cool concept.
It's amazing. I really recommend checking out The Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson.
That'll be the first one. I already got Sapiens, so I'm going to check that one
I
out.
always thought the feature was going to be like Demolition Man.
Oh, you get Simon Phoenix up in here? Are you going to see some murder, death, kills? I can't wait for that.
The little tickets for cursing.
Maybe we can figure out what the 3 seashells are for, finally.
Oh, my God. You know what? I especially, you know, watching that movie when I was younger, I had a couple of ideas, but I don't think I could say that in this podcast. But
were they about the 3 seashells?
They had to do with things you could do with the seashells.
One of them's got to be just cupping in general, I imagine.
Exactly. Anyway.
All right. Let's thank you for those recommendations, and thank you for being on the podcast. Where can our listeners and viewers, so those of you who are listening, you should definitely check out the YouTube just so you can see what Sean's setup is like, because it's definitely different, but you're thinking 3 steps ahead. Like the projector alone, just like blue light has to be down, distractions have to be down because you're not watching TV throughout the day. But anyway, watch the video, watch the
also,
YouTube.
It looks amazing. My screen is 6 feet across.
That's
Wow.
right. That's unbelievable. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I got
definitely the move. They actually just came out with a new one from Samsung. I forget what it's called, but it's a short throw projector and it does like 4K. So if things go right with the business, that'll definitely be the next purchase.
Nice.
Awesome.
But so the website and the Instagram, I'd say, are probably the best ways to get at me. And they are both speakeasy.fitness.
Cool.
Right? So website speakeasy.fitness, Instagram speakeasy.fitness.
Awesome. All right. Any upcoming projects or anything like that you want to like shout out or?
No, I mean the only like work I have that's accessible to the public, because I do try and minimize my online footprint as much as possible, because listen, in 20 years, I feel like this is going to be a huge. If you still have your Facebook account that you had from when you were in college, and all of your comments, photos, and conversations are stored from when you were a teenager,
I'm deleting them.
Delete that shit right now.
Yeah.
I've been doing that.
I get a memory saying you did this 11 years
Yeah,
ago, and it's
I've been
like
doing
cussing out, and I'm like, I fucking said this.
Yeah.
Like, coincidentally,
Yeah.
I'm like, delete. Like it's all
Especially now with
embarrassing,
cancel culture, you can't really say shit anymore.
I mean,
Crazy.
that's a whole nother thing. And while, there are some overages, right? I feel like it's a general positive term.
Yeah.
But even though the most benign things, like, do you want the conversations, you had with your girlfriend when you were 16 to be stored in your Facebook account forever?
Dude.
Because hacks are not uncommon. So minimize your online footprint as much as possible. But aside from that, I'd say the only thing that I have on the internet that people should check out, I did a YouTube video about boosting your nutrition or boosting your immune system during the pandemic. So if you go to my website, speakeasy.fitness, and click on the blog section, the YouTube video is going to be up there. Or if you look up, my YouTube channel's name is Sisyphus Fitness, right? So like the Greek king of myth, or the king of Greek myth, Sisyphus, just Sisyphus Fitness.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
coming
having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
No
Sean.
problem. Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
See you, see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. So that wraps up our podcast with Sean. That was a great podcast.
That was cool. No.
He is full of surprises, that man.
He's unbelievable.
Jacques in love.
He's our dude, man. He's got it.
He's so ahead of the curve. It's unbelievable how he, even on the T-Rex workshop, it's not that it's funny because I wouldn't necessarily say that he's I'm trying to think the right way of saying this, but he's not full of himself. He doesn't think he's better than anyone else.
Not
he carries
arrogant.
himself the right way. Yeah, and you only learn these pivots of information from him once you sat down. Actually, if you have to be sat next to him in the group and talk to him, you're like, oh, this guy, like, not that you ever assumed any form of intelligence, but like, this guy is way ahead of where you think people might be. And I'm still like annoyed I didn't think of social fitness thing. I think that's phenomenal.
No, that's great. And I thought
the fact he got the car.
And the banners are clutch. The banners are super important. And I thought about that the other day, and I was like, why don't more people have banners?
Do that.
Right? And I don't know the reason why. Maybe it's because, it's too heavy, or, people don't have the right marketing stuff set up. But, especially now where people weren't indoors, everybody was outside. Right? So you go outdoors, you have a banner, and that's instant marketing for your own business.
Easily done as well. Like, that's easy.
And why wouldn't you, right? Like, if you're going to go outdoors to work out anyway, why wouldn't you have something on your cart, a banner,
exactly. You've already got the attention of the audience that's going to be outside, because you can already say that some people, everyone's on social media, right? And people that includes people that just stay inside. And if you already have people that are going to be outside anyway, and then they see your sign walking by, then they can't say they're not going to be outside. That's awesome. But again, he was at Tribeca, I believe, right? That was
he was at Equinox Tribeca, yeah. And I'm so happy that, one of the greatest things that I think came out of our TRX curriculum, I know there were a couple of hiccups, a couple of bumps in the road that we didn't predict. Yeah. But one of the greatest things I think is like being surrounded by like-minded individuals who are different enough that you can learn from, but similar in the sense like you all wanted to just go to the next level, and everybody had their own reasons for joining the curriculum in the first place, but and continuing with it. But everybody who I've met from that curriculum was just on point.
Yeah, that was a good group of people.
Yeah, and that guy definitely took the red pill. He said blue pill, red pill. He took the red pill. He took all the truth. And you know what? I'm just going to go on a little tangent. I know we got to wrap this up soon. But I was thinking the other day, what if our whole, existence is just, one timeline, and then you die, and then you come back, and then another timeline, you die, right? So it's just, you just continue. And you don't remember exactly all of your experiences, because he had made mention to, 2 lines, one being your DNA and the other one being your experiences. And I was just thinking, what if we continue to grow to a certain point, to get to a certain point where we realize kind of we should just do everything that's in that's possible for us, keep striving for the most that you can. And then you die, and then you hit that hard reset, and then you have to build up and build up and build up, and then you die, and then you do a hard reset. I was just thinking about what if how many lives if that was the case, right? Just playing with it. If that was the case, how many times would we continue to live through life and die without actually trying to give it our all, or without actually doing something that's impactful, that impacts the society or people, right? Because he did say people are the point. And I thought that was something that kind of resonated with me, because it's, we go through this stuff, and it's not necessarily, we do it for different things. We, money and nice things. But at the end of that, what else is there, right? You look at people who are very rich and, have all this stuff. And I feel like people and our experiences with people are kind of the point to the whole existence. And I just thought I might cut this, I might edit this out, but
no, leave it, man.
How many times do you go through this before you're actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to have no chairs in my house because I don't need to sit down.
I couldn't do that.
Right?
No.
What do I do with the television, right? Why do I need the television? But listen, how many times in a day do you necessarily need that? And in the quarantine specifically, because he wasn't outside, or, you weren't working, right? So TV took up a lot of time for people, right? With Netflix or Hulu or whatever you're watching. And what would we have done if that wasn't an option until later on in the evening, where you might be too tired to watch TV?
I'll say this though, right? In addition to what you're saying as well, it's interesting because when days that I've been training mostly virtually and done 1 or 2 clients outside, and then it's the evening, and I like to be working all day. Just you've been home all day. I was I haven't been sitting on my ass all day.
Right.
I haven't. I've been up early. I've been doing Zoom calls. I've been doing programming.
Yeah.
Like for example, the other day, it was Tuesday morning when it was raining really heavy outside. I was meant to train a client by the water, and it was raining, and I was like, look, I don't mind, but then like, can we do another day? So we counted it, right? But bottom line was I got up at 6 for a 7 o'clock appointment. I didn't have anything until like 9:30. But instead of me going back to sleep, I'm like, you know what? Let me crush out programming. So, I this whole time, maybe except for the first week of quarantine, this whole time personally, I tried to have that like morning to like late afternoon, with the exception of like, you know, a little half an hour in between. But I never had like I'm someone who needs structure, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I've tried to have like things that I'm playing Xbox or watching TV to the evening, because I don't want to do work in the evening, right? I don't want to like program in the evening, like whatever it is. So like I can understand, and I think Georgine doesn't have a TV in her place as well. I think
and Russell has like an Xbox, but he has to like dig, or he had to because they moved. But he said like he had to like climb up and like dig it out and then set up the TV and then set up the Xbox and like make everything like set in a situation.
Yeah, and it
was too effortful.
Right, and when I was in Jersey at Alex's parents, like I had to set up the cable every time. It was a bit of a pain in the butt, but like here I have everything set up. I think you guys have seen, and I'm like, but the other thing as well, and I said this to a client, and I'll kind of stop my tangent, but after 2 hours of playing Xbox or 2 hours of watching Netflix, I'm fucking bored. Like I can't do it anymore. Like I need to go outside, or like the only thing you'll get me watching long is if the Islanders are playing. And even then I'm so stupid, but I get like on edge. I started cleaning the fucking bathroom last night whilst they're playing. I was like, I should fucking do something. Like you don't know what to do with yourself. And they went to second 2 overtimes. This shit started at 7 and it finished at like 11. So you're not playing for like 4 or 5 hours. And I'm like this, and then fucking heart rate is through the roof. Like you're like, oh, I'm on fucking edge. And like, my buddy, he's Ithaca watching it, and he said his neighbor was banging on the wall to like stop shouting because he was crazy.
Damn.
So that's a different story. Wow. But kind of going back to what you said, everyone, and there's no right or wrong. I salute like Sean for being able to do that.
Yeah.
And look, I think that's quite important. If a client comes to your facility or your home and sees that, they're like, wow, he really loves it.
Yep.
You know, he's not making this shit up.
And I wonder. Go ahead.
No. I just think it's impressive.
Because I wonder what the long-term impact of that would be, right? Like I'm sure, like for people who are just starting out, maybe it might be too much, right? They might look at it and be like, "Oh, this guy is like the real deal. Like if I continue here, he's going to have me go up to Lowland Farm. Shout out to Lowland Farms with him to
go and get some meat." Shit.
David's in the car right now.
He was set for the pandemic. I mean, it's the ideal setup, right? Like you have everything.
But then at the end of the day, who has the income to do that? Especially right before. I mean, you don't have many people that do that.
No, that's true. But
he did make it.
He's done it.
Go on, Angel. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like he's been doing it for a while because it was more sustainable, and then all of a sudden this hit, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I don't have to go get groceries for the rest of the year."
But like, I think it depends, I think, on, whatever his mindset was to do it. But you don't have the average person being like, you know what, I'm going to save a lot of money just to go and buy a whole cow. People don't typically think of that.
I agree, but the one thing I will say, I'm not promoting that I would do it necessarily, but the one thing I'm assuming that if you were to break down how much he said $3,000, right?
For the refrigerator, I think
so.
What about, did he say how much?
No, I think he said $3,000 for the cow.
So which is a lot of money, right? So let's say this, right? Let's say if you broke down, he said he had meat for a year, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said meat for a year. Let's be honest.
But that's the full cow. I don't know we didn't get into the specifics, like if it was.
But I'd love one day, and I'm sure he's probably even done this himself, I would love one day to see the breakdown, the comparison between what, if he spent $3,000 in a year and he had meat like set for a year, versus someone who does grocery shopping every week. I'd love to see what the comparison that's what you're saying, Dave, was a great point. Like who has the freezer for that and the space for it, and then 2, the money to just drop $3,000 on like protein like that. It's a lot of money.
Well, but then also the price of
go on, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was
going to say was like, if it ends up being a better deal, then it's like anything, right? Anyone who buys a training package, like, a couple of couple to $5,000 is a long way to drop down. But if you've saved $1,000 or 500 in the process, go on, Angel. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like we got to figure out like how much money does it cost to have like meat for the year, and then also we got to take into account variety, and then right now because of the pandemic there was like the surge in prices for like regular goods including meat.
So that's maybe
that was an exception
now. It's maybe not an accurate time to do it, but I'm sure it makes sense. It's just it was I don't know, it was enlightening and obviously thought-provoking because we're still talking about it right now. And now I gotta like take a look at everything, crunch some numbers. I do like the chair set, or the no chair, and the Korean style dinner table setup. I thought that was very clever because oftentimes I'm like, I feel myself sinking into my couch so much that I think there's like an imprint of myself on my couch. I just couldn't do it with my knees, man. My knees would never like my knees.
Well, they have cushions underneath.
But it's is he bending his legs?
Yeah, he's cross-legged.
I can't do that, man. My knees after like 5 minutes.
You could either sit, but that's the thing. I think that's also part of the point. Part of the point is you just don't sit in one spot for like hours, right? Like if you're playing a video game, sometimes you'll just sit there for like 2 hours, right? But if you were kneeling playing the video game, you might do it for what, maybe like 20 minutes, and be like, all right, I just got to walk around. And that's about the time that it might, like, I don't know, that might be enough time for you to just get your relaxation and then move on from that and do something else.
No, I think it's impressive. I don't know. It's everyone's got their own thing, and but it's cool. I'm like set on like eventually when we move out west of Alex at one point, like I'm like that sado that goes on Pinterest and looks at like game rooms. I'm so determined to have like a man cave game room, like just all my shit. Like I don't care if I'm like 40 or 50 and I have all that shit. I'm still gonna have a fucking Xbox. Funny thing was, as a teenager, I thought there's definitely going to be a year or a point where I don't play this shit anymore. That never happened.
Nah, I always thought about that. I thought about the opposite. I was like, damn, when I get older, I'm going to be that weird dude playing video games.
But it's like anything. You just scare back the number of hours playing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in, I'm a big believer. If it makes it happy and it's a way to de-stress.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing with making it hard as fuck to do it because you feel that you're being unproductive, that I don't think that's mentally healthy, you know? Like there was a time where I was like, oh, I'm not going to play video games. I was scared to play video games because I would always think people would think I'm unproductive. You know?
Shit.
Yeah, seriously. And I only started playing video games like starting in October after 2 years.
Let's be honest. If we spoke to some of our clients and said we play video games, they probably, when we first met them, they would be like, This is not a professional. This
man is a child. Yeah.
This man is a child. This man literally in his downtime plays video games. But if you change a context and if you were to say like, I have a very well functioning business, I'm up at this time in the morning, I don't stop till this time of night, I am like working like crazy. And if I have an hour or half an hour in the day to play, or I play for a couple hours on the weekend, that changes the perspective. But if you like, again, if you meet them right in the equipment room, whatever,
I don't know.
Go, hey,
that's where we disagree.
My name's Angel, and I play video, and I play Call of Duty.
But you don't do that. No one does.
You don't do that, but I think it's...
But at the end of the day, if they ask you, what do you do to de-stress? What do you do to have fun? Do you have, vices that you like? You're like, I play video games. And if they don't like it, then it's their fucking issue.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, I think, maybe it's me being conscious, and maybe it's just me being paranoid or whatever you want to call it, but like, I consciously waited for relationships to brew and to grow stronger before I even let them in on things that I do in my life, right? So, like, my clients don't know how batshit crazy I'd go on Islands game, which you guys have kind of seen, right? No one would really kind of know that, and no one probably cares. That's the other thing.
Everybody has their own thing.
Everyone has their own thing. And, like, when I first went to a playoff game in the Barclays, I was in a fucking zone. Like, I've been wanting to do that shit since I first saw a game online when I was, like, I don't know, like 19 or whatever it was. But it's like, there's just certain things that like, and that's why I say this to like my clients, and whether it's like watching a couple of like this, like in tennis as well as like Andy Murray I like, or it's the Islands, like there's just some things that for me, whoever it is, whether a thing, when they have these things, they're in the zone. it's their thing, It's no right or wrong. And I agree with what you're saying, David. Like, just because you play doesn't mean you're productive. You could probably be like the most, but it's like anything, right? You can be the most intelligent, you can be one of the most successful people in the world, and you can work like 2 hours a day. But if you were so smart and you were so successful at what you did, you might not even have to work. You ever get those clients that are in their 40s or early 50s and they're retired and they have like either a family, they're all got like kids are all going to college, or they have a lot of property, and I'm like, what did you do? I'm always curious. I'm like, how did you go? And again, like, I know there's no one blueprint and everything, but like that's a fucking that's
they had a small loan of $1 million.
Well, whatever it is, right? But long and short of it, it's like, well, imagine being like 49, retired, having kids, and you can play all the fucking video games you want. You'd be laughing, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No,
but I don't know. I just kind of.
I wouldn't.
But...
I know.
I mean, listen. I don't know. I'm not very like judgy in that sense. It's just like, listen, if you.
I can be. That's my own issue, though. Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. A lot of it has to do with just the way I think, the way you think, and there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
But I think for mental health, if you're trying super hard to like not do the things that make you happy, or that give you some time to de-stress, just because you want to put on a front of I don't do that. That's in the long run, I don't think that's the healthiest thing for your mental health. You're suppressing a lot of things that you want to do.
Yeah, and as long as what you're doing I would say as long as it's not destructive, right?
I mean,
that's my thing as well. Like, you can say like, oh, I like taking substances, but like, it affects my responsibilities or so on. Like, that's a little different. But like, video games is such a different thing. Yeah. But like, I think that like, again, that's kind of why I made the point of saying, like, if you were so successful at what you've done and you can afford to like, I mean, did you guys know that these kids on TikTok make like thousands and millions of dollars? Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
They have profiles to make careers. And when we were Alex's parents, us be watching it, cousin was doing it, and I was just like, fucking kids that make millions. They don't even. They all dance the same. It's dumb shit. I know I sound.
It's dumb. It's
so dumb. How the fuck would you? And look, you know what? Maybe I'm just jealous. These kids made fucking tons of money. But
I'm 100% jealous.
I watched
pissed off my parents. I pissed off my parents told me that playing video games was shit and it's gonna rot my brain.
And these kids is like milk the money. You watch it. It's the whole like. There's like 3 or 4 different moves.
Do it again. That's.
Oh my goodness gracious!
There's 3 or 4 different moves, and they lip sync. Why would you watch that shit?
It's I don't know.
Generational as well.
No, it's generational. It's a generation gap, and then also, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but we've all forgotten what it's like to be a kid, and we think we know.
We still are playing video games.
We don't know.
I read something about our generation being sort of in the in between of traditional thinking and, the generation where technology and, shit like that is a thing, Like, we still have our traditional views on certain things, but we also envy the younger generation of not really having to abide by those traditions.
That's because we all got rickrolled at some point, or you saw 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
I don't think I've seen. No way, I've seen like.
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, then you're not a '90s baby.
Yeah, I think I've seen. I've seen seconds of it.
I'll take it.
I think I've seen a couple seconds of the worst part of that film when I was younger, and I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with people?"
To clarify, David says film. It's not quite like
film. Right.
I thought that shit was.
You don't buy tickets.
There was no standing line outside. There was
definitely not.
It was called getting viruses on your computer.
Yeah, LimeWire. You guys remember that?
LimeWire was.
Yeah, I remember. Back we had a computer class, and we all had like little MacBooks, or not MacBooks, but like those old Macintosh with like the colors. They were like
the
huge
blue, right?
Screens. Yeah, like blue, red,
you
whatever.
Went to a fancy school, shit.
I went to the computer school. On like 84th. But anyway, long story short,
we have to fight for our computers.
Damn, son. What school did you go to?
That's why David's glued the Xbox now, or the PS4 is.
No, man, I got consoles too. I'll ride with David. I also got
I got mine. I'm joking.
Breath of the Wild.
Jacques just mad that he's bad at Warzone.
I
He
got
plays
bad.
different
Fucking
games.
awful.
He plays different games. So
Called
he
practice.
plays Fort.
You talking about practice?
NHL.
Even when I practice, I can't do it.
No, we gotta all get on and do some reps.
Gotta get the headset, and I'll definitely be because I
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
I can hear Angel through my phone, but I can't hear David, and I
Yeah,
just
it's a whole-
hear David talk shit, and I'm just laughing about
I'm
it.
the
and they
mediator.
can't hear me.
All I'm saying is just get the freaking headset, dude. It takes 2 seconds. It'll
So
be here
Angel said he
tomorrow.
had a spare set, or I'll
Yeah.
just order off Amazon. I don't mind, whatever.
No, you can pick this one up. You're coming
All
to
right.
see David on the weekend or something like that? I
Are you
don't
guys coming on Saturday tomorrow?
What
Are you able to?
what's happening tomorrow?
There's a rooftop down on Fifth Avenue that I want to get some people together.
What
know.
time?
What time?
Around 7.
Might be able to do that.
Is that your bedtime, Jacques?
No, my boys
Damn.
are playing.
Oh,
shit.
listen.
Game 7.
Listen.
No, man.
Oh,
That's
game
all right.
7. That's a big
It's
deal.
all right. No,
Game
honestly,
7.
it's okay.
Yo,
it's fine.
he's been
No, you're
dodging
good.
David's birthday for
Yeah,
like
no,
the past 4
I'm
days.
not.
That
Dude,
shit's
everyone
crazy.
on Wednesday morning. All right, what time is everyone gonna get there though?
I hope 7.
It's
Dude,
hard, right?
Jacques,
Because
it's
there's no.
fine. Jacques,
No,
it's
no,
okay.
no, no. I'm just gonna try and time it so that I probably come
Dip in
at
the
7. No, because like, look, the game starts at 7:30, I think, and it'll at least go on until 10.
Yeah.
So I'll not that everyone
It's
here listens.
okay. You could be like, the husband in church watching the game on his phone. Well, his wife is like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
That's how Men in Blazers started, right? 2 guys on a cruise ship.
I thought you said, well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, I bought a guitar on Tuesday. I think.
Was
yeah.
it Les Gibson?
Guitar Center.
Yeah, show us the guitar.
Show us it.
For my splurge for my birthday.
Wow,
Oh, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
And it's gorgeous. It's fucking amazing.
Is it black? I saw the
It's
reflection.
black and gray with a little bit of
Nice.
like a beige outer
You-
tone.
Do you
Now you
wanna-
have to learn to sound, man.
Do you want to play something for our listeners real quick?
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
let's do a little outro. Let's do a little outro music.
No.
Do the back. No, you can do a little.
No, that's for no, but that's for another day.
All right, cool. I'm
the way.
What was he gonna say? I do regret not getting the girl's number that helped me with the guitar though.
Oh.
David's got a love interest showing up on Saturday.
Here's the
Not
thing
at
as
all.
well, right? What if you do? This is a question, right? Like I saw a meme about joking of masks with dating masks. Like if you can't date when everyone's wearing masks, you know, shot. Like what? Well, let's say this, right? Like you said, she was cute, right? What if you, whether it's her or someone else, what if you had an interaction and you get home and like she got no teeth or like she got a mustache or something? Like,
To be honest with you, I have been thinking of that.
what like you look? I'm positive that like we're not objectifying or anything. We're just whoever it is. Like, can you imagine if it just like it changes everything?
This is a spiral going down. So
No,
To be completely honest with you, I think it would. It 100% would.
Well, if she has a goatee, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just what you do.
If she has a better beard than me, then we got a problem.
You thought it was like the bandana, actually? It's actually
Yeah,
the
no, it's
beard.
actually a beard. We could share beard oil. Rub it on each other's beards.
Wait, so are you gonna get the fade and the trim for tomorrow?
yeah, trim
Oh,
it
no.
up.
No.
Why not?
Come on,
I'm
man.
trying to make an appointment with my barber. He's not.
Listen,
All right.
I was doing the wave, right? Because I got to do the audio clips. And as I was listening to it, I heard on like episode 19, you said you were gonna get like the fade or something like that.
I know.
And then
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
was like,
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
gotta.
go.
You're like, yeah, I'm gonna go.
Listen,
on
it gets to
Tuesday.
the point where you're like, you've been growing it out for so long. It's like shit.
You're in a
Hold on.
relationship.
But dude, get a fade, like, and then like shave that beard up. You'll look phenomenal, man.
I
Trust
already
you'll be
look
like, why
phenomenal.
the fuck did I do? Yeah, but
You
even
always
more
look
phenomenal, brother.
Even more phenomenal.
Yo, listen,
Come on, birthday suit up.
We'll
That
see.
or me and Angel are gonna make the appointment for you.
Damn.
I ain't gonna go.
I'm gonna tell him to
Oh,
show
fuck,
up.
I'm gonna come
I got
get
your
you and bring you
address.
down.
I'll see if I could do it tomorrow morning. I have a client in the AM, so I'll probably just head right after that.
All right.
You have to make appointments, right? You can't just walk in.
Yeah, no, because I think my barber place has a limit of just 2 people per like time.
Half hour or something. All right, we'll let everyone go. People probably not still listening.
Anyway, all right,
This is about
guys.
All right,
fitness.
Make sure. Yeah, right. We're talking about fitness. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it, share. Shout out to Sean Cronin for jumping on the podcast today. That's speakeasy.fitness, I believe.
Yeah.
On Instagram, and that's his website. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye, guys.